Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Corner. It is Premier League night number 10. What a fantastic week we had in Leeds as Michael van Gerwen trounced James Wade by 6 legs to 1. But by the time this video goes out, we will hopefully be in sunny Manchester at the AO Arena for another night of darting action. And I think I will say before that we kind of look at the predictions for everything that's going to go on in Manchester next week. Real credit to Michael van Gerwen with that performance last week against James Wade. It wasn't really. It was a weird one because it didn't feel like a 6-1 score for the first kind of couple of legs. James Wade was really kind of pushing Michael van Gerwen, but I think it was the doubles that ultimately cost James Wade in the end, and Michael van Gerwen, especially towards the back end of the 6-1 victory, really did start to put in a quality shift. And, you know, he said himself on the night, you never really know what to expect from James Wade. And I think he really did deliver a fine performance in Leeds. But let's move on to night number 10 in Manchester. We've got about 6 or 7 more nights where these players can pick up points. And it's a question I'm probably going to try and ask one of the players, whoever wins it on the night. Is the pressure maybe just starting to build on some of those players at the back end of the league? You know, you're looking at the likes of Gary Anderson and Michael Smith. These are players who desperately need to make runs at this stage of the competition if they have any hope of trying to make the playoffs. We should have 4 games this week. Gary Anderson, as far as I'm aware, I recorded this on Tuesday, he's not dropped out of the Premier League yet, so we should have 4 games again in the quarterfinals, which is good to see because you never like to miss a game. Really disappointed last week we didn't get to see Michael van Gerwen against Gary Anderson, but not to worry because we've got a belter of a first game to start in Manchester, and that is Peter Wright against Gerwin Price. Now, usually I would actually say this is a quality game. I would usually tip this to be an absolute belter, probably one of the standout fixtures of the night. However, I actually think that this might be not one-sided, but very favourable to Wright. We know, and as I said in the predictions last week, Gerwin Price is struggling with an injury. You know, he's currently sat 6th in the league on 9 points. He's not actually made a semi-final since night 6, which I think is a big worry for Gerwin Price. You know, he's expected to be challenging for the Premier League, challenging for the top spot. And I do think the injury is 100% playing a part. And I'm actually maybe a little bit surprised in a way that Gerwin Price hasn't actually maybe dropped out for 1 or 2 more of these sessions. But as I said last week, you know, I think whoever finishes 8th wins, I think, £60,000. So he's not really going to turn down the chance to win 60 grand in cash, is he? But I've got to say, I think he's disappointed this season, Price, so far. He's got the lowest amount of 180s in the league with only 25, and even on the floor in Barnsley at the Players' Championship, he's been struggling. In Players' Championship 13, he only averaged 85.66 and lost his first match to Radek Szyganski. So a very good performance, I think, there from the poll. Who'll be delighted to beat Gerwin Price, but at the same time, really disappointing from the Iceman. However, Players' Championship 12, he did make the last 16. Again, only averaged 91 for the day, so I think even then, Price will be a little bit disappointed with the averages. As for Peter Wright, it's kind of a different story right now. He's sat 3rd in the league on 18 points. He's 6 points from dropping out of the playoffs, which I think, considering when you look at the rest of the pack below them, is a very good position to be in. I don't think it's going to be often we're going to see those players like Anderson and Smith, etc., winning nights constantly. So he's got a little bit of a buffer right now, Peter Wright, and I think he'll be very happy with where he is, considering he's only 4 points off the top spot. He's actually been in 4 semi-finals now in a row, which again is another reason as to why he's so high up in the table. However, he was very disappointing last week. I will be honest with you. That semi-final against Michael van Gerwen, both players massively struggled on their doubles, and it caused their averages to plummet. In fact, he only averaged 86.37 in that semi-final. And Peter Wright, he will know himself. You know, I don't have to sit here and say it. He will know that he's got to improve. And I think he will improve indeed. So when we look at the head-to-head record of these two players, it is literally split even. 5 wins for Peter Wright in his last 10. 5 wins for Gerwin Price in his last 10 against each other. And in terms of the bookmakers' odds, these are from William Hill. Once again, as we always say, these will fluctuate as the week progresses, so they may have changed by the time this video goes out. Peter Wright is 8 to 11, not 11 to 8. If you place £5, you'll win £8.64, and if you were to put a fiver on Gerwin Price, he is currently 11 to 10. You will win £10.50. So you can see with the betting odds, the bookies are favouring Peter Wright. And if I was to make a prediction for this game, as I said at the very start of my prediction for this one, I do favour Peter Wright to win it. I'm not going to predict the score exactly, but I think he'll win it by at least 2 legs. So that's the first game of the evening. What about the second one? Gary Anderson, the Flying Scotsman, should, touch wood, be back, and he will be facing James Wade in a pretty interesting game. Now, as I said earlier, Gary Anderson obviously missed Leeds last week due to COVID, and of course he didn't play at the Players' Championship at the weekend, so hopefully this part of the video is not going to be meaningless and he doesn't pull out last minute. But he's only made the semi-finals twice this year. Night 1, where he made the semi-finals after beating Michael van Gerwen, and Night 6, where he beat Michael Smith in that epic final where he averaged 104, and that is the Gary Anderson that we need to see. We've not seen it enough this season, and we need to find, I think he just needs to find that inner demon inside of him where he is hitting the 100+ averages, because we've not seen it enough. And this might be the game where he feels he might have a slight chance. He's got the second best checkout percentage in the league currently at 42%. Now, again, you've got to take into account that Gary has missed a night, so obviously his percentage would have been affected. But if he can keep that percentage up, if he can get his averages up, Gary Anderson could maybe make a last-minute push to try and reach the top 4. It's a big ask when you're 5 points off and you're relying on other players around you to drop points, but you never know with Gary Anderson. He's a very interesting player to watch. As for James Wade, on the other hand, he's had a brilliant couple of weeks. He made the semi-finals for the last couple of weeks, made the finals twice now in a row, lost 6-1 in both of them, which was a little bit disappointing for him. He was kind of pummeled politely by Michael van Gerwen and Johnny Clayton in both of them, which is a real shame, but it would be a very James Wade thing if he was to make the playoffs without winning a single night. He's not actually won one so far, but he is currently sat 4th on 13 points. He's got the second lowest average of the Premier League so far with 93.59, but he does have the joint third highest checkout percentage at 41%. And that's the funny thing. It literally just describes James Wade in the most perfect way possible. He doesn't need to have a high average, but he could have a very good checkout percentage, and he can beat anyone on his day. Now, in terms of the bookies odds for this one, 4 to 5 for Gary Anderson to win. If you put a fiver on, you'll win £9. James Wade is on evens. Place a fiver, you win a tenner. So the bookies are kind of not really expecting to know who's going to win this one. And in terms of the head-to-head record, in the last 10 games, Gary Anderson has won 6 matches, while James Wade has won 3. If I was to make a prediction for this game, it's a tough one. I'm going to go Gary Anderson. I think he's going to have a little bit of fire in his belly. The expectation is going to continue to build as the tournament progresses. He has to get points on the board. And if he was to make a semi-final this week, you never know. Maybe he could just get 1 or 2 more extra points and start pushing up the league table. So that is quarterfinal number 2 of the night. What about quarterfinal number 3? This one could be an absolute belter. Michael van Gerwen, the winner of the previous night, takes on second-placed Johnny Clayton in what could be a really, really good game. Now, I'm going to kind of focus on Johnny Clayton a little bit more first. The Ferret has been brilliant in these last couple of weeks, not just in the TV tournaments, but on the floor as well. In fact, this week, the Players' Championship in Barnsley, he reached the quarterfinals of the Players' Championship 12. He lost to Damon Heta 6-3. He averaged 100.6 for the entire day. And then he also reached the last 16 of Players' Championship 13. A little bit more disappointing this one with the average, but to make the last 16, he's been very consistent in Barnsley recently, and he seems to be doing really well on the floor tournaments, and he's certainly been taking that to the TV tournaments as well, because 6 out of the last 9 nights has Johnny Clayton made a semi-final. He's been chugging along, he's been churning out the points, and it's been a very impressive run for him. Currently second in the league on 19 points. He's probably going to find himself in a position soon where he's more than comfortable to be making the playoffs. And I think it's an interesting one because as you predicted Johnny Clayton to make it into the top 4 at the beginning of the season, I don't think many people would have put him to have been second. And that is a huge kudos to the Ferret. But what about Michael van Gerwen? Top of the league, winning that night in Leeds. It was a fantastic evening for the Green Machine. And of course, he's leading the league again. He's been just sensational to watch. He's won 3 nights this season. That is the most of any player in the Premier League so far this year. He's got the most 180s with 51. He's got the highest average of the Premier League so far with 98.8, as well as the second highest checkout percentage of the season at 41%. You would be mad to not predict Michael van Gerwen to win this game. You would be mad to not predict him to win potentially the whole thing with the way he's playing. We're seeing that vintage-esque Michael van Gerwen appearing a little bit more than we usually have. Again, look, it was a little bit disappointing in that semi-final against Peter Wright, but you've got to take into account the fact that he didn't have a quarter-final to prepare for. It wasn't necessarily last minute, but the fact that Peter Wright had an extra game under his belt and Michael van Gerwen didn't, it does affect the players. But is he going to win that game against Johnny Clayton? Let's see what the bookies are saying. They have predicted Michael van Gerwen at 8-13, which means if you put £5 on the Green Machine, you'll win £8 and 8 pennies. But if you put a fiver on Johnny Clayton, he's 13-10. That's £5 bet, win £11.50. So you can see, of course, Michael van Gerwen is the clear favourite by a country mile for this game. And if I was to make a prediction, I would say Michael van Gerwen will win it. But I'm not. I'm going to go Johnny Clayton to win this game. I think that the weekend that Johnny Clayton's had, and the consistent role of performances that he's had over the last couple of weeks, I think the Ferret is going to potentially win the whole night. I'll come back to my reason why in a little bit, but it's a bit of an outsider's prediction, I guess you could say. But we're Team Ferret here. What about Joe Cullen against Michael Smith? It's the final quarter-final of the evening. And again, I think just like that Gary Anderson-James Wade game, it's another match where both of these players are going to be looking at it and expecting to win. Now, Michael Smith is going to need to win it a little bit more. He's currently sat 7th in the league on 8 points. He's 5 points away from the playoffs. And it's a bit of a weird season for Michael Smith. I feel like if you were to ask him how he feels he's performed in the league, there's a part of him which might feel like a lot of the performances he's had have been all right. Decent averages, not as many 180s maybe as people thought he'd hit, but I think you can also look at the other end of the spectrum and think to himself that to only have 8 points at this stage of the season, I feel like he probably thinks he could have had more, maybe 12 or 13 at this stage, and potentially be in the position what Joe Cullen is currently in. Now, in terms of Michael Smith's weekend at the Players' Championship, again, a really decent weekend for him. He made the semi-finals at Players' Championship 12. He lost to the eventual winner, Dirk van Dijvenbode, with a 85 average, which was a really poor game for him, 7-2. He did average 95 for the day, which wasn't too bad, but again, maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity for Michael Smith to get a Players' Championship to his name this year. However, in the last 32 of the Players' Championship 13, he lost to Mickey Mansell 6-3 with a 105 average. So it's kind of the other end of the spectrum with that one, losing with a big average by 6 legs to 3, which again, I think I'd be fairly disappointed with. But Mickey Mansell, very, very slow, tidy player, can always be frustrating to play against when you are a quick, fast player like Michael Smith. But what about Joe Cullen, currently sat 5th in the league on 12 points. He's 1 point away from the playoff, dropped out last week because of James Wade's run to the final. Still has the lowest percentage in the actual tournament, checkout-wise, at 32%. He also has the lowest average in the league of 91.72. That has got to change. I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to sit here and tell Joe Cullen what he needs to do. He knows that he has got to improve as the tournament goes on, because the likes of Price and Smith, they are, only a couple of points behind him and 1 or 2 decent runs from those players, and they just might overtake him in the table, and we could potentially in a couple of weeks' time be sat here saying that Joe Cullen's finished 6th or 7th. In terms of what the bookmakers are saying for this one, Joe Cullen 4-5 to win this match. If you bet a fiver, you'll win £9. As for Michael Smith, he is on evens, so if you place a £5 bet, you will win £10 on William Hill. Head-to-head wise, it's pure domination. Michael Smith has won 7 of the last 10 games against Joe Cullen, and he's also won the last 3 matches against him. So Joe Cullen, he's going to be in a bit of a tricky position going into this game. And if I was to make a prediction, I am going to say Michael Smith to win this game. I'll come back to my reasoning why in a little moment, because we can have a look at the odds just to win night 10. Now, last week we predicted James Wade at 12-1, and he almost made it. Of course, a little bit disappointing with the final, but with odds of 12-1, if you were able to find a bookmaker where you can cash out at certain points, then congratulations to you. You might have won a few pretty pennies. But this week, to win night 10 in Manchester, Michael van Gerwen leads the way with odds of 10-3. Second is Peter Wright with odds of 4-1. Johnny Clayton and Going Price are both matched at the same odds of 9-2. Michael Smith is at 8-1. Joe Cullen is at 9-1, with Gary Anderson at 10-1 and James Wade at 11-1. Our outsider shot this week to win the evening is going to be Mr. Michael Smith. I feel like it could be a pretty decent night for him. Good game against Joe Cullen, potentially to pick up some points. Again, it all really depends on who goes through to face him. I predicted Johnny Clayton to do that, and I've predicted Johnny Clayton to win the night. Look, as I said before, he's been fantastic over these last couple of weeks in the floor tournaments and on TV. And it just feels like maybe it might not be this week, maybe it might be next week or the week afterwards. Johnny Clayton is probably going to win another Premier League night. And it could be quite an exciting end to the league. Of course, I don't know whether or not we have the bonus prize for the person who finishes top of the league. I think we do. But again, it's going to be like a Manchester City-Liverpool kind of potential fight, I guess, between Michael van Gerwen and Johnny Clayton for the top spot. And we have predicted Johnny Clayton to win, so if you do want to get on those odds at 9-2, it's not a terrible shout. You know, stick a £5 on, I think it gives you about £37.50. A little bit of a longer prediction today. I thought we'll kind of extend it out. We've got a little bit more time to breathe on these predictions. Do tell us below who you think is going to win the night in Manchester, night number 10. We will have a couple videos going up content-wise over the next couple of days regarding the Premier League of Darts, and we should hopefully, touch wood, have an interview with the winner of the night in Manchester on Thursday. So that is the night 10 predictions. If you are new to the Sports Corner, as always, don't forget to leave a like and a subscription. You can check out our darts website, thetopcorner.com, and our social media pages. The links are in the description as always. But as for now, we will see you in what should be sunny Manchester for a darty party. See you later.